Mishcon Academy digital sessions.
Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining this Mishcon Academy session. I'm Charlotte Wilson and I will be hosting today's event. I am delighted to be joined today by Jennifer, Shahade and Alex O'Brien. Jennifer is a professional poker player, two-time US women's chess champion, Mind Sports ambassador at PokerStars, and also the program director at US Chess Women. Alex is a science and technology writer and amateur poker player. Her work has appeared in The Guardian, Scientific American, The Huffington Post, among others. Alex is a board member at the Association of British Science Writers, and her debut non-fiction science book, The Truth Detective, will be published in February next year. Jen, maybe you can start us off and tell us a bit more about how you got into playing chess and poker.
I learned how to play chess when I was super young. Actually, I don't even remember a time when I didn't know the rules of chess. And I really got into the game a little bit later than a lot of young chess champions, actually. I definitely played when I was like 6, 7, 8, and 9, but I didn't develop that burning passion for chess until I was actually in high school. A lot of people think that if you don't jive with an activity right away, then you're not super talented. And a lot of girls drop out of STEM fields, and particularly chess, in junior high school. So I really feel like getting back into it is something I like to tell people about. And then as for poker, a lot of it was that my chess friends were really into poker and they got me to try it out. And I immediately loved the fact that there was this other game and this other subculture that I could use the same brain skills I used in chess, and that I got to travel and meet new friends.
And Alex, I know that your background is on the science side of things. You don't so much play chess, but obviously now you're very into poker. So maybe you can talk us a bit more about that.
Yeah, so I got introduced to the game by another female writer who couldn't make a meetup one day and left me a message saying she had been playing poker until early hours and made thousands of pounds. And she explained the rules. And I just remember being so hooked by the game and its complexity. And because all I knew about poker at that point was, we've seen it in popular culture and movies where it's usually played by men. I remembered after she left that night, I flipped over up my laptop and started watching final tables of the World Series. I mean, it was just like, I never looked back. So everything else is history since then. Yeah.
But why do you think that so few women get into poker, and Jennifer, I guess for you as well, chess?
Well, I think a lot of it is the social networks and connections, even chess, which is a head-to-head game. You'd be surprised at how much it is about networking and social, because you have to travel to tournaments with your friends, right? But what I see a lot is that if you're the only girl of your age in chess, a lot of the time it's really easy to drop out because you don't have somebody to go to the tournament with, to talk about the games afterwards, to share a hotel room with.
And do you think there are misconceptions about women who do play chess and poker?
I think that a lot of girls and women are intimidated by it because they hear that it's this crazy brain game. And if you're not like really, really smart and good at math, then you might not click with it. First of all, women are just as good at those things as men, but tend to sometimes have less confidence because of socialization. But even if they were just average at math and analytics, chess has something for everyone. And you don't have to be super smart. It's more like a language. That's what I tell people.
And so that there are men in both chess and poker, and really, let's be honest, numerous other fields that have quite openly said, women can't do X. Insert your field of choice here. Is there something that makes us so keen to prove them wrong, to stand up, to be counted, to enter into these kind of typically male-dominated spaces?
Part of the reason I was so drawn to poker was because it was such a male-dominated field. But I think the question that we're trying to answer has its roots thousands and thousands of years back. We go to the Mayans, the ancient Greeks, and the Mesopotamians, and how they subjugated women, like our perception of what women should or shouldn't be doing, their modesty, their behavior. So it's a very difficult question to sort of say, oh, we should be just doing that or that. I think it's conversations like this, continued conversations, and women supporting each other and not feeling like we're sort of making some sort of statement. It's just like championing each other. And this is what Jen did with me.
I sometimes find missing from the conversation about women in games, women in male dominated fields, just the simple positivity. Because sometimes there's a lot of well-meaning questions about why there aren't more women in the game and what we can do about it. But then also sometimes if that completely dominates the conversation, we're not bringing out those great role models and those great stories that can really convince people to be a part of it.
Do you have specific people that you look to for that kind of support? What do you look for in a good role model?
Is somebody who's not only super successful, but in some way you can break down what they're doing to other people in a relatable way. Definitely diversity is really important for role models because, we're looking to reach as many people as possible. We want more girls to be influenced positively, to think that they can do anything, whether it's chess and poker now, and then later becomes math and science and politics. They might, go into a room where they're playing chess and they're one of the only girls, and that prepares them for later in life to be the only girl in some other field where we need them, And
Alex, I know that we've spoken before about some of the poker groups that you've hosted with your girlfriends.
I host a regular poker night at mine just for my female friends to help them get comfortable with the game in a very safe environment. This is a way of me encouraging other women to come and play, gain confidence, because so many elements. We should really talk about how the benefits of poker for women and what it actually can do for their confidence. And a lot of the negotiations and networking happens outside of the boardroom, right? They happen on golfing outings or and at the poker tables. And it'd be good for women to have that ability to go, I'll play a round, be it poker or golf.
That's the thing about poker and chess that I think is often a little bit underlooked. I know there was a high stakes player, actually, poker player, in an interview who mentioned that he's actually made more money because he's an entrepreneur and a poker player. He's made more money from the games that he's played because of the connections he's made at the table with business people and different relationships that he's built than he's made from winning. And he's a winning player. So I think that that's something we need to talk about more because it's exactly the reason we need a lot more girls in it.
But are there skills from chess and poker and similar games that have universal application? So not just for women, not just for children, but helpful in those contexts, but for everyone, really.
The Truth Detective is about essentially that. It's a roadmap to a more effective mindset. The elements of resilience, endurance, probabilistic thinking, making on-the-spot risk assessment, being able to control your own emotions, but at the same time being aware of somebody else's emotions. These are skills that have direct parallels and applications to real life. And then Truth Detective is about those hundreds of moments every day that we encounter, and where we need to sort of understand how do we move forward in the best way. So you ask the right questions and think critically about it. And poker really teaches you that.
Now, as for chess, there are so many great life lessons, but I'll give you two of my favorites. One is that in chess, a lot of people ask great chess players, how many moves do you think ahead? And the famous answer to that by Jose Raul Capablanca, the world champion from Cuba, was that the answer is one, because he only sees one move ahead because the first move he sees is the right one. Now, of course, that's an exaggeration. Chess players do look ahead, but there's a lot of intuition that goes into their thinking. And there's also a lot of lateral thinking, right? So if I look at 8 different possible moves and I look at them 2 moves or 3 moves deep, that's still more moves that I'm looking at than if I look 5 or 6 moves ahead. And that to me is a beautiful life lesson, that it's not just about like planning 8 years ahead. It's about looking at all the options you have right now. And the second one, which ties into the hit Netflix series, The Queen's Gambit, is I think the flow experience that chess can give you. I mean, this is particularly important to me for girls and for any marginalized community, to be honest, that they need to have access to those moments of pure joy where they're not thinking about anything else. They're not thinking about people looking at them or how they appear. And they're just enraptured in an activity. To me, that flow experience where you're totally caught up in the moment, the Queen's Gambit did that better than anything I'd ever seen. And the fact that it was a woman that was absorbed in those experiences was so meaningful to me in my work.
Has the Queen's Gambit, has it encouraged more women to get into chess, do you think?
It's encouraged more people everywhere to play chess, honestly. Certainly anybody who might see themselves as an underdog. I love to see, actually, just a couple of weeks ago, it made the mainstream news that Nigerian American Tani Adewumi became the newest, youngest chess master in the United States. And he won his big championship while living in a homeless shelter. But, this idea that chess is the equalizer is very powerful.
I know you both are very involved in giving back and helping to drive change. Jennifer, you've mentioned a bit about women in chess. I don't know if you can tell us a bit more about that.
One of the things that I really escalated during this time because of the chess boom was my efforts to get more girls and women into the game. And so we meet together a couple times a week and we talk about chess. I bring in role models, and we also have women's classes, and we have a women's book club where we talk about books that kind of relate in some way to chess, but not necessarily explicitly about chess. So I do all these types of events to not only get people better at chess, but show them the ways that chess can improve their lives.
And Alex, I know that you also, I mentioned a few of the initiatives that you're involved with.
Together with my close friend and also science writer Angela Saini, we a couple of years ago decided that we wanted to not just write about controversial topics and issues, and really thought about how can we drive change. And we decided we needed to bring people together into a room. And we did that by sort of bringing experts onto a panel, have them up close with an audience, women, minorities, and tackle some of these most controversial subjects, such as women in science, and give people the opportunity to network after.
One of the things that I hadn't appreciated, and I know that we've spoken about this previously, is how much work goes into chess. And I hadn't really appreciated the work and the prep and the revision that goes into it.
Yeah, I think one of the things that attracted me to chess was, just like Beth Harmon, the artistic elements. I love the beauty of chess combinations. But the reason they see that so quickly is because they've seen similar things before. It's that pattern recognition, not the exact same position, but the similarities are strong enough that they can instantly see the right pattern. So that is something you have to do in chess, work on your pattern recognition, and also your openings. So you're kind of trying to create a structure where no matter what somebody plays in the first couple moves, you know what to do against it. But yeah, it's a heck of a lot of work.
And Alex, it's the same for poker, right?
With poker, you can pick up the rules like in 5 minutes. Like, this is what happened to me. I'm like, wow, I love it. I can play it now. But you really have to study it. You have to sit down and figure out how do you get better. And that just involves time and hard work.
Do you think poker also teaches us to fail well?
I think personally for me, what I've learned is to embrace failure a bit more and just understand that it is just part of learning. It has, again, parallels to life, that we can think we're going down a certain path, a certain direction in life, and we have it all mapped out, and then something happens, and then how do we deal with that sudden change of direction? How do we deal with that emotionally? And I definitely, poker really does teach you that sort of humility, learning how to become comfortable with failure.
It's not about how often you win. It's about winning big when you win, right? Like you could fail 8 times in a row. And then if you get that one win, that is going to make up for all of it, right? And poker is just like that. It's not about how many pots you win. It's about how big the ones you win are and how, small the ones you lose are, right? That is your goal.
I have had an absolutely wonderful time talking to both of you. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
The Mishcon Academy Digital Sessions. To access advice for businesses that is regularly updated, please visit mishcon.com.